Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Daphne, and if you are new, welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing with you some organizational strategies that I use in the classroom since we've been back from online learning to face-to-face learning. All right, so let's get started. So the first strategy that I'm going to share with you is my cell phone box that I use in my classroom. It is a box that you can purchase on Amazon. It is not very expensive. It's about $20 Canadian. And it is a box that you can put students' cell phones in to keep them safe and to help students with the temptation to use them when they're not supposed to. So the container that I have is a great strategy for me because once they're in there until I give them permission to take them out. So the container stays on my desk all day and it is locked. There's a key option and a timer option. I don't use the timer option in case, the students do need to use them for technology purposes to research or look something up. They can use the cell phone if they get permission, if they're using it for school purposes. But again, it's very easy. There's about 6 slots that you can put cell phones in. So if you do have more than 6 students in your classroom, you would like to store them, then you would need an extra storage container. Again, it is so easy. It gets routine. For example, my students come in the morning, they approach my desk, they put the cell phone inside the box, and then once I have everybody's cell phone, then I close the box and it stays on my desk. And it's very clear. There's a clear message that nobody's allowed on my desk. Nobody's allowed to enter the box without my permission. And I usually will count them to make sure that they're all there and that it stays closed for the duration of the day. So this is the container that I am presently using for the cell phones that my students bring to school. It basically is a 6 container lot that cell phones can easily be put inside. It's made out of plastic, so you can sanitize it very easily at the end of each day. As you can see at the back, it does come with a lock and a key, but I do not use that. And it also comes with a timer. And my understanding of the timer is that basically you can set it, so once you close it, it does not open until the timer goes off. And this is a very good strategy if parents have this at home where they can put technology in there. You have another 50 minutes to go. It just takes the burden off having to deal with temper tantrums that might come up because they might want their technology. What I have been doing that's been really super easy is I've been using these rings. These are rings that I used to use when I would be focusing on vocabulary. I would be putting words on cards and basically you'd hole punch them and put them on. But I found another purpose for them. And basically it goes like that. It is closed and it's simple because then I can open it and I don't have to worry about keys or losing keys, because the last thing I want is to not be able to return cell phones to students. But this is lovely. It sits on my desk. It's very pleasing to the eye, and find it on Amazon, and it is very economical and very easy to use to ensure that students are not using their cell phones when they are not supposed to be using them. So the next organizational skill that is very recent to my classroom is my computer cart. And my computer cart that I have in my classroom has been so amazingly helpful with regards to organizing the computers, the Chromebooks, the laptops that my students use in the classroom. My computer cart is borrowed, so I've been very fortunate that the librarian was nice enough to lend it to me while the library is presently closed at my school. And basically, I had to try to figure out a way for my students to be responsible, to be able to use the computer cart. So I came up with some really cool strategies. I really had to think outside the box and really think like some of my students, because I know it is not fun having to replug the computer in at the end of the period or at the end of the day. So I have two parts to my computer card. I have the classroom Chrome storage part, which is the area below. And then there is the storage area above the cart, where I was able to purchase a dish rack from Walmart for my students to be able to put their home devices, because I do have students that bring their own devices to school, and I had to try to figure a way how they would be able to plug in their devices if they happen to run out of battery. And I didn't like the idea of them storing them around the classroom where someone could possibly trip, or they could get damaged. So the top cart is for students with their own technology, and the bottom cart is for students with technology that is provided by the school. All right, so I'm going to show you my computer card. I'm really excited because it has truly saved me from tripping and other students tripping, because that was the biggest thing, was just trying to figure out a way to organize the cords so that way they wouldn't be loose, because it seemed like no matter how tight I tied the cords, they seemed to be getting untied by the end of the day. So I'm so happy that I have this computer cart now, because it is nicely, neatly put at the back of my classroom, and it's just organized, and I love feeling organized. So here is the dish rack that I purchased from Walmart, and it is absolutely lovely because in the front here you can put your wipes, and then at the back I was able to put the charger. And what I found before, when I had the dish rack going, that this charger would end up on the floor, it would end up hanging over. So what I decided is I bought Velcro, and I pretty much attached to the dish rack, and it goes nowhere now. So when kids come to put their technology, they basically put it in and plug it in. Very simple, very easy. There's no guessing, there's no cords. It's just beautifully. I got this idea, I can't take the credit for that, on Pinterest. I Pinterested it, and someone had posted this idea, and for the most part, it is amazing. It's wonderful. It definitely fits Chromebooks and laptops. I'm finding that the laptops might be a little bit too big. So what the kids are doing is they're putting them horizontally, so that way they fit so they don't fall over. But iPads fit in here, Chromebooks fit in here, and also if you turn the laptops over in a horizontal position, they also fit here. So here is my card. I'm gonna give you a visual how big this card is. It is on wheels, so it can be moved around in the classroom, but I've chosen to park this. I do not move it. It stays at the back of the classroom. That way students know exactly where it's located, and there is a clear location for it. Like, there's no guessing, like they don't have to scan the classroom. The other thing that I have done is I have designated 2 students for the moment that are my tech crew in my classroom. And those 2 students have been trained by me. I trained them beforehand exactly how I want the technology to look like and how it needs to be put into the cart. So let me open up the cart. And also you have an option to lock it. Don't lock it. It's just understood that I go into the cart, and when the cart doors are closed, that means that it is not open for use. So here is my cart. And so the big issue that I've heard from other teachers were that the cords, so these cords were coming from behind. And what was happening is students would plug in their technology, and then for whatever reason, the cords would be coming undone, and then the technology wouldn't be charged. So what I did was I basically cleared out the shelves, and I made it where I fastened the charger on the side. So I got these Velcros through the slots, which I used a needle and thread. So I basically just put a needle and thread at the end, and I thread it through. Again, something I came up on the spot because this Velcro would not easily go through, because if you look underneath, it is slots and it doesn't go straight through. So it is very difficult to get it through. But anyhow, I fastened it so it's not going anywhere. And then I passed the cord through around, and then I made a little loop here. So all the students have to do, super easy, it's a two-stepper. It's like they put their computer in, and then they take the cord and they just plug it in, and that's it. It is super, super easy. It honestly, from what I understand from other teachers in my school, this was a sore at the end of the day to maintain, because the cords were constantly coming out and they were getting tangled at the back of the cart. So this system that I've created here eliminates both of those things. So I am super excited to have this cart in my room. It is easy, it's organized, I don't need to worry about it. My tech crew, my 2 students that have been trained, doing an amazing job because it's so simple to maintain, because basically they're their monitors, like they're the cart monitors, where they're ensuring that once the technology is sanitized, all they have to do is put them on the shelf and plug them in. So the next organizational strategy that I use is what almost every teacher uses. It is classroom responsibilities or jobs within the classroom. However, I have a little twist to mine. My classroom jobs are very clear, and it's not so much that the kids are doing jobs. They're monitoring everyone doing their own job. So I have created 7 different categories. Students are put into groups because I find when they're in groups, it becomes more supportive. And if students are away, for example, there's still someone within the group. So I'm going to show you my groups, and I'm going to read to you each section so that way you can get a sense of what I'm talking about, because I am a firm believer that students need to be responsible for their own actions. So if they make a mess, they clean it up. They are using technology, they put it away. If they drop something, they, wipe it up. It's not so much that they are doing the jobs, whereas they're monitoring other students doing the job as well. So the responsibility is definitely on the students, because we want them to be self-efficient and we want them to understand that they're responsible for themselves and that no one should have to go around picking up after themselves. It truly is a life skill that I strongly believe. And it's something that they could obviously take along with them when they move to the next grade, or even better, when they're at home, about within the household with chores and things that need to be done. So these are my classroom responsibilities, and I do call them responsibilities. I do not call them jobs. And I have 7. So I have the floor, work boxes, technology, whiteboard, noise level, lights and sink, and locker area. Locker area is where the students put their shoes and their jackets. Presently, they do not put their jackets in the locker area because they are closed. They have their jackets behind on their chairs. So each section I've explained in detail, and I have gone through tutorials with students so they understand what is expected. So I'll just give you an example. For the floor responsibility, it says this group is responsible to kindly remind their peers to pick up any items around their desk to ensure the safety of all. So again, I'm not asking students in this group, in group 1, to pick up things from the floor. It is not their job to be picking up things that other students have dropped. It is, though, a kind reminder if something should fall on the floor, that person who dropped it picks it up. So those are the words that are key in these responsibilities, that they kindly remind their peers. And it goes down for every single one. Okay. Now, this one here is a specific one that's new because we're back face to face and, during these COVID times. This is the noise level, and it is something that is expected from our students, is that they are not allowed to talk while they're eating. While they have their mask off their face, they have to refrain from talking. And this is, I think, the hardest one for students to do because they like to chat. And as long as they have a mask on their mouth, then they're allowed to talk, but definitely not while they're eating. So peers kindly remind each other to stay focused and eat their lunch without talking, and wait until they're done their lunch when they have their mask back on so they can safely talk to each other without having to worry about safety. So the next strategy that I have used for years now, is the brown envelope. And the brown envelope is a very simple strategy, yet it is so helpful in organizing what goes home and what comes back at school. I came up with this idea in my class, and basically it's a brown envelope that you can purchase at Staples or Walmart. And it allows parents to understand that when you are sending things home in this brown envelope, that it's their responsibility to please look through it and sign anything that's in there as far as assessments. And then anything in that envelope gets returned in that envelope ASAP back to school. And it's just a real helpful way to keep track on what's going in and out of the classroom. It's a nice way for you to be able to follow up with students later on if they haven't mastered a skill of any content that you have taught. So I'm going to give you a look at how I organize it, what I have on the envelope as a little blurb for parents as a reminder, just in case they forget like what they should do with this brown envelope. Because, you know, let's face it, we send a lot of things home and parents sometimes forget. So you want it to be very clear, very easy for parents to follow along, because the clearer it is, greater chance is that parents will help and support us. And that's what we want. We want parents to support us, and we want to be a team. And that is one way that we can create that with our parents and our students, and just making easier with regards to what we send home. So here's the brown envelope that I use to communicate with my parents, and where I put the students' assessments or any items that I need parents to look over and initial or sign. In the corner is where I indicate the student's number, and this really helps me when I have to give them out to students. I can give them out in order, and then when they are returned, I can easily, quickly check to see which envelopes have been returned to school and which students have still yet to return their envelope. So it's sort of like a checking system. All you have to do is put it in order, and then you can see which envelopes are missing. On the front of the envelope, I have a little message for parents, and this comes in handy, especially if parents forget. So it's a nice little reminder for them, and it basically just reads, "Dear parents, the students have been given this brown envelope to assist them with ensuring their work is transported home and then returned back to school signed. Students are asked to make any necessary corrections, review work with a parent, and return work back signed in the brown envelope. Returning work is very important as it allows me to continue supporting individual students with concepts they still need to master. All student work is filed in their work portfolio. Kind regards," and then my name is underneath. Remind parents that what is coming home needs to be looked over and then returned back to school, because what I tend to do with these brown envelopes, I file them in my filing cabinet, but I also have them accessible. So when I'm meeting or conferencing with students, I can take those assessments out and review them, ensure that the work that student might not have mastered gets mastered by the end of the school year. So it's a really great way to reference work that students have done that they still need to learn. The next strategy that I'm going to share with you is my number system. And I know I've been talking a lot about these numbers that I put everywhere. And it is an organizational system that I came across several years ago that allowed me to organize my students according to numbers. Numbers come from my attendance roster. So I just go alphabetically. So my first student will get number 1, and then I just go down. Some years I'll have up to 24 numbers. Some years I might have less than 24. But basically every year at the beginning of the school year, each student gets a reference number, and that is their number for the year. So when they're writing a test, they write the number on their test. Easier, it's quicker, it's just very efficient. So I use these numbers for everything. So when I get my students to line up, I'll say, can you line up in order from 1 to 20, for example? Or I might say, can you please get into groups of 4? Use it for my sign out washroom, where they just kind of move their number and into the location where they're going, if the washroom, or if they're going in the hallway to get their book from, they need to go to the office for something like a mask, so they're just moving their magnet to the different area, but they're using their number, and I don't have to write their whole name because sometimes there's not enough space. So the number comes in really, really helpful. It's just really, really quick. Up from greatest to least. It just keeps them interested, and it's just really, really fast. And it's easy to reference things around the classroom. If I am creating groups on the board, I'll just write the numbers on the board. For me, it really works. Here is the list of my line order that I have created for my students. Basically, it's a list, and on the right side is just the number that goes from 1 to 24. If you had 20 students, it would go to 1 to 20. And then on the left side is where I would record their name. And this poster would be posted in my classroom where students can reference it, especially when they're lining up and they know exactly who the person in front of them is and who the person behind them is. It just helps with students not having to run to line up, order in the line. It's everybody has their position in the line, so there's no confusion and there's no pushing or shoving to get to the front of the line. And you can also get creative. You can say line up with all even numbers at the beginning, or line up from greatest to least, or you can say line up according to your birth date. I just like it because it's just so easy, and there is no rushing when you're lining up or you are getting ready, because you know where you are in the line, and it doesn't matter how fast or how slow, because everyone has their own spot reserved. So here's an example of my sign out for my class. They basically find their number in the column that says in the room, and then when they leave the room to go to the washroom or to have to go to the office, they basically take their magnet and they move it to the appropriate column. These little magnets I found at the dollar store, and they come in packs of 12, very convenient and very cute. The number on the magnet was recorded with a permanent marker. Don't worry about kids wiping the number off. So it's really easy, really efficient. Kids just move their magnet over, and then when they return, so if they were in the washroom and they returned, all they have to do is take it and put it back, and then I know exactly how many students are out of the room at a time and how many students are presently in the room. So the last strategy that I have that I use a lot is my quick reference booklet. I have a lot of binders, and I know a lot of teachers have a lot of binders, and finding things sometimes very quickly can be very difficult. So I used to have a binder on my desk with all my papers in there, and I would reference it. And that didn't always work as easily as I wanted. So I tried to figure out a way that I can reference quick things like yard duty schedule, or my CERT timetable, or an IEP of one of my students, so I can quickly reference to make sure I don't forget something, especially when I'm creating, say, an assessment and I need to reference an IEP, or anything that requires me to look at on a daily basis where I don't have to look into a binder. I don't need to go look on my shelf for the binder. It's just right there. It's on my desk. So I came up with this cool idea and it has worked for me, and it's very, very quick. So let me take you over to my desk and let me show you what I have created. So here is my quick reference booklet, and I created the cover on Canva, and I love Canva. I've done a video about Canva with regards to websites that teachers can use, and I absolutely can't rave about it more because you can make a whole bunch of stuff. Anyhow, these are fasteners. So basically what I've done is I have these plastic covers. To it, all I have to do is unfasten these and just add another plastic, and it's super easy. As you can see, it does not take a lot of space. I don't have to go to the shelf to look for it. It's right on my desk. It cannot get more simple than this. But this for me is so much easier than having to go into a binder. All right, so those are my organizational strategies that I use in my classroom. I hope they were helpful, and I hope that you can walk away with something that you can adjust or adapt to your classroom. Until next time, please hit the like button and subscribe and keep on teaching.